What's up, everyone? Today we have another fantastic compilation featuring the best stories from r/Pettyrevenge. These 3 incredible tales will shock and entertain you. Subscribe if you're new here. This story's titled "My Boss Was an Asshole and Wanted Me to Give Back Cash Counter and Balance of $4. So I Made Her Work Full Shifts for a Week." Posted by u/Worku55. Sorry for any mistakes. English is my second language. The story takes place in Poland in 2023, and $1 was around 4 PLN at the time. So, a few years ago I worked as a receptionist waiter at a hotel restaurant establishment. I was working part-time as a student on weekends. The place had a restaurant on the ground floor, and hosted events like wakes, first communion dinners, big where I'm from, or just everyday clients for the lower end of the high-end restaurants. 2 floors above that had rooms to stay. So, I would check in people, manage the online, or over the phone, reservations for the restaurant, and the rooms or led people to a table if they were coming for a meal. It was a family business, and everyone knows that the best part about those is that the people working the management positions are based on merit, and not family connections. So my manager boss, I'll call her Amy, was annoying, not in a sexist way. She was just an asshole, and entitled. And her mother, going forward Big Amy, who started the business with her husband, was even more. The whole vibe of all the workers shifted whenever Big Amy came to check some books. As any position where you handle cash of clients, we had a system calculating the balance for each day, and I made some mistakes. I remember I even overcharged someone like 30 PLN once, which I felt bad about for the client. At the end of those days I left a note with how much was missing, or was above. Before college I worked at a big Walmart-type store as a cashier. And the practice was, if I was plus 10 PLN no one would care. If it was more, my manager, and I, would both have to sign a note saying, well, the employee fucked up, no malice. No one would ever dare to expect me or any other cashier to foot the bill. Common occurrence, I thought. But this place couldn't handle that. So, the summer vacation season comes around. On my position there was only one other worker working full-time. And Amy also handled the position before they hired me. So, there were only 3 people in the world, knowing the system of making invoices. And managing the reservation system for that place. My fellow worker, who was really nice and taught me the ropes, was taking her vacation. I was to take her shift for the week plus mine, which would be around 70 hours. The place was open 9 to 97 days a week, since my college classes ended for the semester. So, just before I start the hellish week of work I'm working a Sunday as usual. Big Amy came and checked the books as she does, and here comes my imbalance. It was 17 PLN undercharged, I remember precisely. No mention of overcharging BTW. So, she says I have to pay it back. I respond about not having to, naively mentioning my job contract not including such a stipulation. She dismisses me and says that I have to talk to Amy about it. I say sure and go back to my work. Later that day, here comes Amy. She starts going on about how no one ever behaved like that here before, and how it's obvious that I would have to pay for the imbalance. I attempt to be calm and ask what about times that I overcharged people. She responds that that money of course goes to the business. I once again bring up my contract, which by the way was very badly written. Like a 1A4 page, not fully filled with broad terms like cashier duties not specifying much. Again, the professionalism of small business tyrants. Also, I had the audacity to mention how bigger and more successful didn't use those words. I kept tactful. Businesses don't put that burden on the worker. She was just an asshole the whole talk, while I tried to keep the decorum. I emphasized that it would be valid of her to expect me to pay, if we agreed to it in the work contract. She proposed to have that added, but I would still have to pay. I frankly, with that confrontation, lost all interest in keeping the job. Also at the time, while money was tight. I got the job because my parents wanted me to. Because experience, or some bullshit, while they were paying for my college life. It's law in my country that If the parents can afford it, they have to pay living expenses for their kid as long as they are studying, even into college. So I got it mostly for them. Going back to the job. It was not a lot of money, but it was on principle, so I stayed on course and refused to pay. Amy literally stormed out of the room without resolving it. I talked with my fellow workers. Somewhere straight up there in the room she lashed out. And for those not around, talk spread fast. And they weren't really surprised by Amy's behavior, but by me standing my position. Not a good omen. So, Amy called me later, as I sat at the reception desk kind of clueless, and asked me what I wanted to do about it. I said that I'm not a manager, so it's not my place to figure that out. Still proud of coming up with that jab at the spot. But as she pushed, I mentioned I'm perfectly happy to sign a contract termination that day, foregoing my right to 2 weeks of termination notice that I and she both had. Knowing well that there is no one but Amy to sit at the reception desk for the next week. If I was fired, so I thought she would yield the 17 PN that I didn't even personally keep. If I stole, I wouldn't steal just a one-time fee of below my hourly compensation. I have some dignity. I remember fucking around not working the rest of the day, and talking with my coworkers about this. And they, mostly middle-aged with families, were amazed that I was willing to lose my job over this. I was in a privileged position to lose the job, but I did spread some leftist propaganda talking about workers' right and dignity, hopefully planting seeds for some trade union, because that place really needed that. By the end of the day, Amy came back with a piece of paper with both-sided agreement to terminate my contract. I signed it joyfully. I couldn't stop smiling, being aware that with my coworker on vacay it was 9 to 9, 7 days a week for dear Amy. She wouldn't talk at all during signing it, just handed it to me. And checked after I handed it back. Didn't even reciprocate my thank you after giving back the document. This 30-something-year-old was straight up fucking pouting, walking around the establishment, keeping eyes on things running smoothly because of a college kid standing their ground. I am still confused, because my training process took like 40 chi of working together with my coworker learning how to do stuff. So they had to pay me around some 800 PLN for that time, and the wage of the more experienced receptionist, which I hope was a lot higher. Not to mention the recruitation process. And on the other end, it was 17 PLN. I even did my coworker to say goodbye, and make sure that she wouldn't be forced to cut her vacation short or anything crazy. She beautifully summarized the case, reassuring me she wouldn't let her vacation be disturbed. After I told her about repeated boorish behavior that escalated that day, she messaged me. Oh yes. Amy is known for that type of behavior. Unfortunately. But not everyone has to endure that, of course, and I absolutely understand you. From current perspective, I'm kinda mad I didn't push for compensation for my time that I reserved to work around in the following week. But I'm still happy thinking about that asshole working a full week, like us lowly folk, who don't have parents owning businesses. This story is titled, I Mildly Ruined My Now Ex-Neighbor's Thanksgiving. Posted by you/Valkyrie Kato Dota. Let's dive into another shocking story. This happened in November of 2023. I, 36M, live in an apartment building with rather thick walls between apartments. From 2017, when I moved in, until May of 2024. I had a neighbor on the other side of the wall that I'll call T. 60 Seth. T was nice when I first moved in. But at some point within my first year of living here, her husband left her. No idea why, but ever since that day, T became an absolutely annoying nightmare. She would slam her door any time she went in, or out of the apartment. Literally, every single time. The doors of our apartments are very heavy, thick metal, and I promise you it does not take that much force to close them securely. She also started stalking my partner and I around our apartment. It took us a bit to catch on to this, but she would always play country music, which I despise, at full volume on what I think must have been a Bluetooth speaker that she bought from hell itself. If I opened the sliding closet door, in the hallway of my apartment, she would move the speaker to her closet, which is on the opposite side of the wall. If I went into the bathroom and started the shower up, she'd move it to her bathroom on the other side of the bathroom wall. Our apartments are basically mirrored versions of each other. If my partner and I laughed at something on TV or talked at just normal volume, she would pound on the wall and yell. Sometimes my partner and I talked to each other while we're in the bathroom together, brushing our teeth, putting on deodorant, getting ready for bed, etc. One time I heard her yell at seemingly no one. Oh great. They're in the bathroom again. We didn't want to get too paranoid, but it really felt like she was following us around. She would also sit out front of the apartment building and chain smoke, letting the smoke waft into my windows during the summer, which forced me to keep the windows closed. We live on the second floor, and we don't have central AC in this building. And the smell started coming in from the window AC unit after a year or two because she started smoking directly below it. I worked night shifts, and one day as I was walking out the door, she was sitting outside and asked all sweetly, "Were you going this late, honey?" I was trying to be polite to her, and I just told her, "Oh, I'm heading to work. I work nights for company name." I thought maybe we could get along, but after that day she began blaring her music at exactly 8:30 a.m. every morning when I got home, thus making it hard for me to sleep. We did call our landlord multiple times, and he had a few talks with her, but that only made her worse. There's so much more I could get into, like her daughter, and her baby niece coming over at all hours of the day, and having the loudest conversations, the time she was screaming at someone on the phone in the hallway outside my apartment door. Why? And the time she threw her poor cat out of the second floor window, then got pissed when we tried to feed it, so she installed an automatic door closer on the back door to stop us from letting the cat in. But you get the idea. Now, on to the revenge. It was November of 2023. I usually stop at a grocery store right by our apartment in the mornings. When I get off of work, and one morning the week before Thanksgiving I stopped in to grab a few necessities. For some reason, T was there doing her Thanksgiving shopping at 8 a.m. in the morning. I didn't want to cause a scene when I saw her in the aisle, so I just put on a fake smile, said hello, and went about grabbing my toilet paper, cat food, and a few snacks to pack in my lunches for my overnight shifts. I'm not sure if she did it intentionally, but T got to the register right before me and started unloading her dozens of groceries onto the belt. Keep in mind, all I had was like 5 or 6 things, and I just wanted to go home and sleep. This grocery store has self-checkouts, but for reasons I still don't understand to this day, they've been permanently blocked off since COVID. This early in the morning they only have one cashier and one lane open T. So all I could do was wait while T took her sweet time chatting with the cashier and intentionally not looking at me. While I was standing there, frustrated and tired, I noticed that T's debit card had fallen onto the floor because of the way she'd set her wallet down. The card was sort of half under the big rack on one side of the aisle that has all the candy on it. I realized that if I took a step forward to put my stuff on the belt, then I would almost naturally step right on top of her cart. So, while she chatted and took her sweet time, talking about how great this turkey she was buying looked, and how this spice was gonna go great with that spice, and her daughter was just gonna love this boxed stuffing, I took a step forward, put my foot on her card, leaned forward to grab a divider for the belt, and scooted her card completely under the rack. The gap was maybe half an inch at best, so unless someone got down and pressed their face to the floor to look under it, you couldn't tell the card was under there. She goes to pay and oh no, she can't find her card. After a few minutes of digging around in her purse and checking her pockets, she finally tells the cashier that she must have left her card at home, and can they please hold on to the groceries until she can come back to pay for them. It'll only take her a few minutes. The cashier puts her card off to the side. T leaves, I buy my stuff, and I finally head home. For the next hour I force myself to stay awake and listen through the wall as she yells at her daughter over the phone, saying that Thanksgiving is ruined, she can't find her card, can someone help her pay for the groceries, the turkey is gonna go bad if it just sits in that cart at the store all day, etc. All day, etc. When I woke up later that day I could still hear her ranting and yelling, this time to her daughter, who was there in person now. I don't know what T ended up doing, but I asked the cashier the next time I saw her. And she told me that T never came back for her groceries, so I effectively ruined her Thanksgiving. I know this because she complained very loudly about it for the next month to all the other neighbors. As a final note, she moved out in May the following year. And my partner's best friend ended up moving into that apartment. When I was helping our friend move in, we decided that now that we had access to the apartment, we wanted to see just how loud my partner and I were really being. I stayed in what was once T's apartment, and the others went into my apartment and yelled, laughed, and played music at full volume. I could barely hear a peep, and they were giving it their all. We tried talking in the bathroom, running the shower, flushing the toilet, etc. And we pretty quickly realized that for us to be hearing T's music and her yelling, etc., she had to have been yelling at the top of her lungs and playing that demon-bought speaker at ungodly levels. It's truly unreal, because to this day we can hardly hear each other unless we actually put our ear to the wall. It kinda creeps me out to think that T was standing in her apartment with her ear to the wall all the time, but there's literally nothing else that makes sense. T was 100% insane, and I hope I never have a neighbor like her ever again. This story is titled, Freak Me Out While I Bite. Okay, guess I will fall over, and now you have to wait. Posted by u/Bandro. And now for our final story of today. Okay, so this happened last year in a busy parking lot a couple of miles from my home. I went for coffee with a friend. There was construction on one side of the shopping area. And while you technically could leave in that direction, you would not go very fast. There was one exit that had a light. And if you turned left at the light, you could get around the construction. So, guess where everyone was going? Traffic was nearly stopped and about 20 cars from 4 directions were jockeying for position. Yes, I know it seems improbable. But it is actually a very weird lot. All wanted to go into the 2 exit lanes with the light. I usually bike everywhere and especially to this area. Because as mentioned, parking is improbable. Not saying improbability drive improbable, but fairly uncertain. After my coffee, I went to leave, clicked into my bike, and snaked my way to the exit area with the light. There is no bike lane there, and the sidewalk was full of people, so I braved the maze of stopped cars. The light just turned green, and I was still rolling a little. So I thought I could just keep rolling as that would cause the smallest disruption to the cars. Unfortunately, an aggressive guy in a truck trying to turn right tried to hurry me, aggressively pushing his truck forward to nudge me to go faster. Only problem is that if you are on a bike and traffic in front of you is not moving yet, you need to balance well. So, his little aggro maneuver was threatening enough to get me to lose my balance and scramble to unclip from my bike. I didn't quite make it, and pretty much ate it in front of him. Thanks a bunch, dude. So, now the light is green, and everyone else in the other lane is going. But I'm slowly picking up my bike, checking my pants and making sure I'm okay right in front of him. In absolutely no hurry to get back on my bike, or to get out of his way. Moral of the story: don't freak out at bikers in traffic, or you will have to wait a very long time. That wraps up today's incredible Reddit stories compilation. If you enjoyed these amazing tales, hit like and subscribe for more daily content. What was your favorite story? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching.